a French person's realization of a Baroque concerto, if we could think a little more Baroque. So for instance, your melody, you're going, I think it's too connected. Okay, I think it needs a little bit lighter feel. Okay, give it a try. That was great. Now one more thing. Rather, similar to the last victim, you can only press so much before you get negative results. And what I'm hearing is, I'm hearing almost like a glass cutter sound, okay? And my suggestion is if you, instead of playing on the side of your bow and pressing, because you also tend to release these fingers, which means you're really only using your first finger to press. Instead, try holding the bow with all 4 fingers and release the sound. Not that. So can you just play the top note, just that C, and let's get a beautiful sound. Fantastic. That is plenty loud enough. Plenty loud enough. And you've got this big chord. Try adding the notes to it. Good. Fantastic. Now with the pickup. Try that. A little too much. Much better. On the little notes, the 8th notes, think of those being the notes where we're going to use more bow. And then the quarters, less bow. So rather than going like this, you're kind of going bam. Instead, we want to do this. So I want us to use more arm when we bow our 8th notes. But light, not pressing, we're using arm. You're frozen here. It's like the Klingon death grip a little bit. We want to have a softer wrist so that every joint in the arm is working a little bit. Right now, your shoulder's working only. Have them all. Good. The sound is different now. Okay? It's more open sound. That was great. Now, one of the things we could talk about in this piece, because there's a lot of run-on sentences if we're not careful. And the first one is right where you ended. Let's let that end, and then something else. You're kind of doing it's too much of a run-on. Also, your tendency was to vibrate the second note, which is a little pedestrian sounding. Then we're back to Baroque. Okay, let's try to put that whole thing together to there. Talk a little bit about phrasing there. For me, I think the quarters that are not slurred are too connected. Okay? It's light. It shouldn't be. Next time I'd love to hear Penderecki, but for now, let's think a little bit lighter, a little more in character. Okay? Try it again. Here, you got, like in the shaman, stepwise. perhaps this one even more mysterious. So I want you to think, like in the last piece, more about contour, about shape. And especially in Baroque, this isn't a Baroque concerto, but it has elements of Baroque, obviously. It was inspired by Baroque, right? And very often in the Bach cello suites, and I think we're going to hear some of them later, there are no dynamic markings in the original manuscript, right? But they certainly played with dynamics back then. How could they not, right? They were just like us, right? And so if you see notes going up, go up. You see notes going down, go down. You're not going to put all these, that's what editors do. They micromanage. It's just their way of explaining how they see the shape. Great. But it's a sort of self-evident in the piece. Right? So let's try here. Pick up the 25. And I just want you to think of one thing, okay? So I know I'm barraging you with 1,000 things to think about, and your head's going to explode soon. I just want you to think about one thing, shape. Okay? And maybe it's helpful to close your eyes or to look at your fingers or something like that, but focus on where the notes are going. If they go up, try to go up with your paintbrush, like this. Just give us a picture so that we're all closing our eyes and we're seeing what you're trying to show us. Okay? Sometimes your shifting is too fast and too tense, and partly I think it's because you're grabbing the neck, you're kind of choking the neck, right? So there's a couple of passages perhaps we can focus on where you are shifting. Right there. So you can place just the viola. I just want to look at your shifting a bit. Good. So what I liked about that was you were thinking, I don't want to hear this shift. I don't want them to hear it. So what you did was you stopped your bow. Good. You won't hear anything if the bow isn't moving. But what if we actually keep the bow moving, but not have the bow as into the string? That sounds a little bit, right? So when you play your first note, then keep your bow moving in the shift, and it won't sound cut off. In the stringness that your bow is doing, okay? And you can do that with your scales too, right? If you're doing just a simple shift, that's a little too obvious. Right? My bow kept moving, okay? So you immediately grabbed onto that. So remember that, okay? One other habit I just want to bring to your attention, you have the swells, or we call it the bulges. You can go And also think about the line. Good. I think harmonically it goes to there. Sometimes what happens is our bow decides how we're going to phrase. Instead, the phrase should tell the bow how we're going to bow. Okay, so just be aware of that. So a lot of little things we talked about, but it sounds much more polished now because you're not working so hard. You're telling us a story, and the shifting is lighter and a little slower and not so heavy, right? And articulation. Remember, with this piece, it's more about the quarters being light with a lot of bow speed,